Thanks for coming. This is the Steam platform update for 2025. So happy to see so many of you here. Thanks a lot for coming, and nice to meet you. I'm Erik. I work on the Steam business team at Valve. The Steam business team has a lot of roles at Valve, but the primary role that we fill is working with Steam partners, so developers and publishers, to answer questions and talk about best practices and explain how features work and just talk generally about kind of how Steam is doing. And we also work with designers and engineers to work on new Steam features and just generally thinking about ways to make Steam better for you, the developers, and also for customers. Here's what I'd like to share with you over the next 30 minutes or so. And the topics today are kind of structured in the format of questions that you might have as developers. We're going to have an opportunity later for you to actually ask questions of us in the next session. But these are kind of common questions that we might expect that you would have coming to an update on Steam. So the first one is, what has Steam been working on? You know, what new features or tools has Steam been working on, and what is our priority? The next topic is, how is Steam doing? Is Steam growing? And I'll have some data to share with you kind of in that section, and we can talk about that. And then the final section is, what kinds of games and developers are successful on Steam? Is it a certain genre of game? Is it a certain type of developer that is finding success? We're going to look into that question. Okay, let's jump right into it. First section was, what has Steam been working on? The answer to that is a lot. And we are constantly working on new features and tools for both players and developers. And part of our job on Steam is to help connect developers and players, with games, to kind of be a matchmaker and to help those two things find a match. And so we focus a lot of efforts on that. So the first part of this section, I'll talk about ways in which we're creating opportunities for your games to kind of find an audience. No matter what time in its life cycle it is. And that might mean for upcoming releases, that's Next Fest. It could be for a game that's already been out for a while. That might be a daily deal opportunity. Or also shining a spotlight on particular genres or themes for games, and those are Theme Fest. So there's lots of opportunities there. But the first section I'll talk about is sales and fests. And like I said, these are opportunities for you to have your games highlighted on Steam. And Steam is kind of a good place, we think, of establishing a long-term relationship with your players. It's something that we think about a lot in terms of Steam overall, just trying to establish a long-term trusting relationship with players. And one great place to connect with players is our seasonal sales. Now, I think a lot of you out there will probably be pretty familiar with Steam seasonal sales. They represent a really big opportunity to connect with your audience and also find new players for your games. And they happen at a time when a lot of players are coming to Steam to find something new to play. So it's kind of that perfect moment to reach players. They're also a source of constant improvement for, and something that we work on. We're constantly refining our approach to sales, trying to improve the way that they look, the navigation, the way that the titles are featured, and really just working on ways to connect players with a game that they're really going to love. Now, as part of that refinement, there's one small note to share. For this year, we're moving the autumn sale to the end of September this year. It's kind of part of the process of finding the right place for all of these sales. So it's going to provide a better opportunity for more even spacing between our seasonal sales and better discount opportunities between the sales, so that there aren't opportunities where a discount cooldown might prevent you from participating in something. So we're making that slight change. That's just a small minor note, but these sales represent a really big opportunity, and we definitely think that if you have an interest, you should participate. Themed fests are another kind of source of discovery opportunity for you and your game. It's another way that we highlight games on Steam, and something we've been putting a lot of work into over the last few years. And in 2025, we've kind of continued to deliver even more fests than ever before. We had 18 themed fests. And if you're not familiar with what a theme fest is, it's a way to highlight a particular genre or theme of game on Steam. And we try to spread out, when we're planning these, we try to spread out year to year and even within a year, the various types of games that we are highlighting, so that we're showcasing as many games as possible and as many categories of games as possible while keeping it interesting and engaging for players. And just some examples of that variety on the screen. This is just some of the 2025 kind of theme fests. Some really cool examples there. Box Pushing Fest is pretty awesome, but there's lots to find here, and customers are kind of telling us, we're getting feedback from them that they're fun and engaging, but developers are also telling us that it's a good opportunity to find an audience for their particular game. So that was 2025, but in 2026, we're going to go even further. We just announced our first half of our schedule for 2026, and we're going to be experimenting with running even more fests than we did in 2025. And the goal of that is to go even deeper on the kind of niches and themes that we can explore with these fests. My personal favorite out of this list is Horse Fest. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to entail, but I think it's going to be exciting. But there's some other cool ones in there too. And I hope that there are some fests here, either on this list or in the later half of the year, where you can showcase your game. Now, that's the opportunities for curated sales and events that we are organizing for developers that are games that are released. But we do have a cool event that you may be aware of called Steam Next Fest. And Steam Next Fest is for upcoming games. It's an opportunity to shine a spotlight on your upcoming game and raise awareness for it. It's usually a really good opportunity for generating wish lists and awareness for your game ahead of launch. And Next Fest, I'm happy to report, has been growing steadily over time. Each one is kind of getting a little bit bigger than the previous one. And they're getting a lot of interest. The number of titles that are participating is growing, and customers are loving it. It's also getting some good media coverage. Now, a couple of things to think about with Next Fest. The only thing you need to participate in a Next Fest is a demo and a store page, essentially. Your game can't be out yet, and you can only participate in one Next Fest for the life of your game, so before launch. So be thoughtful about which Next Fest it is that makes the most sense. You kind of don't want to go a little too early where your game, isn't ready for that spotlight. You probably want to put your best foot forward. So be thoughtful about which Next Fest makes the sense to participate in. Just a quick shout out, if you have questions about Next Fest, we have an awesome kind of Q&A series on our Steamworks Development YouTube channel where Alden and Ria and others there at the back have answered just about every question you could possibly imagine about Next Fest. That's a great place to go if you have questions on Next Fest. But I think you can probably grab them later if you want some more questions. So that's Next Fest. And these are events that, Next Fest is something that Valve and Steam, we organize Next Fest. But there's another type of event on Steam that is third-party organized. So this means that an outside organization or group of developers has decided that they want to host an event on Steam. And we host these events and also allow developers like you to create your own events. So far in 2025, we've hosted over 200 third-party events on Steam. So there have been a lot of support for these events and a lot of actually curated marketing opportunities for some of the kind of more compelling third-party events. And why am I talking about third-party events? It's just another opportunity for you as a developer to highlight your game and potentially get another sale or raise awareness for your game. And if you're interested in potentially creating your own third-party event or want to learn more about what it's like to participate, or you have some questions about that, we have some really good documentation that will walk you through everything you need to know on third-party events. So I recommend checking that out. Okay, continuing the theme of more opportunities to feature games. I think a lot of you out there will be pretty familiar with the Steam Daily Deal. It's been around for a really long time, and we've continued to refine our approach to daily deals and try to improve them. And we're always thinking about ways that we can feature more interesting games on the front page and really improve the diversity of games that are in curated promotions. So For that reason, we did a bunch of work to expand daily deals recently and also improve the tools that developers use to put their games into daily deals so that if you're invited to a daily deal, you're able to actually schedule the daily deal yourself and find the date that works best for you. So here's some interesting data on daily deals. So some point back, we went from 2 to 4, and recently we went to 4 to 6 daily deals each day. And in 2024, that meant there were about 2,800 games from 1,160 different partners that were featured in daily deals. I think that's fantastic because that really represents a lot of developers and games getting to, be in that curated front page promotion slot on Steam. And so far on 2025, we're on pace for about 4,000 games. So again, a lot of different types of games, a lot of different themes and styles and genres represented. Actually, in 2024, 87% of daily deals were for games that had never previously been featured in a daily deal. So a lot of interesting opportunities for developers. If you are out there thinking, hey, maybe my game would be a fit for a daily deal, well, you can reach out to us. You can create a Steam support ticket. I think everybody would probably knows how to do that, but there's a drop down in Steamworks. You can create a ticket and say, hey, is my game going to qualify? And we'll take a look at it. And like all curated marketing and algorithmic featuring on Steam, it's all based off of customer interest. But we'll give you some feedback and let you know if you qualify. But definitely reach out. In fact, on that topic, if you want to learn more about how visibility works on Steam and how algorithmic featuring works and curated featuring works, there's a video that we put out about a year ago on our Steamworks development YouTube channel. Don't worry, there's going to be a link at the end that will take you there. But if you're interested, I recommend watching that because it does a good job of kind of explaining how featuring works on Steam and answers a bunch of questions that you may have. So watch out for a link at the end. Okay, moving on to what else we've been working on. We, in addition to all of those opportunities that we're creating for games to get featured on the store, we're also working on user-facing features and developer-facing features on Steam. And this is a cool feature that we've been working on, accessibility support. So we've added accessibility support on Steam in the sense that now customers can look and see if games have accessibility features that they support. And as a developer, you can go in and actually enter in the accessibility features that you support, and that will display on your store page. So if you have those features, I recommend going into your store page and entering them. And this is a work in progress. There's going to be more to come when it comes to accessibility. And we think that this is a cool feature and we're going to keep working on it. Another feature that we have been working on is the Steam in-game performance monitor. And what's cool about this and why you should care is that it isn't just a user-facing feature. While it certainly is really helpful as a player, I certainly have used it. And it's really helpful for kind of identifying what may be causing bad performance in a game. It's also really useful for developers to do that same thing, to figure out what may be the cause. And there are, of course, development tools for development builds that have built-in features that help you to monitor performance. But what's great about this is that this is built into Steam, and so you can use it for your Steam release build of the game and actually have your QA team play the release build of your game. And they may find some opportunities or some issues with your game that you wouldn't normally find. Another cool feature about the performance monitor is that it does break out frames that are generated from something like DLSS or FSR versus the actual kind of game frame rate. So I think it's pretty cool and something that you should check out. The Steamworks Sales Data API, this may not look like the most exciting feature, but it's actually one of the most requested features that we've had over the years when we go do events like this, where it's an API that you can use to grab data, sales data about your game programmatically without having to go to the financial site on Steam. And so you can quickly get relevant information about your game's performance, including revenue, units sold, key activations, bundles, in-game transactions. So all of that information you can just grab using the API. And that's a feature, as I mentioned, that a lot of developers have been asking for a long time. We're continuing to work on it. We have more to come, including wishlist support, which I'm told should be happening pretty soon, and other improvements. So it's something that we're going to keep working on. If you have suggestions for the Steamworks Sales Data API, or you've been using it and you have some feedback, we'd love to hear that. Of course, the front page of Steam is one of the most important kind of discovery mechanisms for games. And so it's something that we're constantly working on, and there's just ongoing work to help users to find new games and to navigate around. And so we've made some changes to the front page that is just the start. We're going to continue to make changes, but we now have one cohesive menu at the top. We have an enhanced search menu. You can browse top destinations really quickly. And you can also see kind of a roll-up of all of the categories and tags that are personalized for you. Personalization on Steam is something that we continue to invest in and work on, because it's a really great way to help players to find the games that they're going to love. So work continues on the front page of Steam. Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Steam Deck. Steam Deck is going great. I'm happy to report that it's that we're really happy with how it's doing. There are millions of Steam Decks in customer hands now, and it's also something that we're continuing to really invest in fully, and we are supporting fully. We've actually deployed over 500 updates to Steam Deck since launch, and we're going to keep investing in it and keep iterating on it, because it's a device that we really believe in. We hear that from developers who appreciate finding a new audience on Steam Deck for their games, and also using Steam Deck as a development tool, and also from customers who are just loving the ability to take their games with them wherever they go. There are lots of other companies that are also making handheld PC gaming devices. We think that's awesome. We think that's great for growing the overall market, and we think that's really positive and good news overall. So good things are coming and continue to happen for handheld portable gaming. Just one other note is, we really view Steam Deck as multi-generational hardware, and we're going to continue to invest and iterate. So yeah, we're really happy with how Steam Deck has gone so far. Okay, so that was a lot of features and stuff. I promise we're going to get to some other stuff soon, but there's a few more features to kind of talk about. Friend invites is a feature that I'm personally pretty excited about. It is a feature of Steam Playtest. If you aren't familiar with what Steam Playtest is it's a feature that helps you as a developer to test your game on Steam, whether that's prior to launch or even after launch. It's a really useful tool. Actually, there was a video I put up on our YouTube channel recently, Steamworks Development YouTube channel, that talks about the various ways that you can test your game on Steam. Using Playtest is a great way to do it, but friend invites is just one way that you can now add additional players to your playtest. So in addition to having a button where players can say, hey, I want to join, you can also allow players to invite their friends, and then those people can invite their friends, and those people can invite their friends. And you have some control as a developer on that, but things can grow really rapidly that way. So definitely check out the documentation and learn more about it. But this is a feature that is available now. You as a developer can enable it whenever you think it's appropriate. And we think it's a cool way for friends to organically add their friends to Steam Playtests. We made some improvements to the Steam trailer player, just really improving the usability, bandwidth use, the quality of trailers and the way that they play on Steam. It's just smoother and more efficient now. Just a little note for you as a developer, if you haven't uploaded a trailer for your game in a really long time, maybe just re-upload that. It's an opportunity for the new player to kind of make sure that everything is playing in best quality. But overall, just improvements on the tech for trailers being played on Steam, which are an important way for people to interact with your game when they're shopping. Another change that we recently announced is an update to the way that reviews are displayed on Steam. You may or may not have seen the news in the last week. We made some changes to the way that reviews are shown based off of language. I thought I'd talk a little bit about our goals with reviews in general. I mean, our goal is that Steam reviews as a feature, our goal is we want to always show customers a review score that's the most relevant to them and can help, indicate whether a customer is enjoying that game or not. And we found out over time that what is relevant to users in one language it can be really different from what's relevant to a user in another language. And those reasons can be good reasons. I mean, it could be the translation issues with localization. It could be cultural issues in the game. It could be, or references in the game. It could be poor network connection or experience in the game. So there may be reasons why a user who is playing in one language would have a completely different experience from a user in another language. So for that reason, when we can now, we're going to try to show a review score based on the language a user prefers. And so it's going to, because we think that that's going to be more relevant and more useful for players when they're making a purchase decision. And you can see now this feature is now live on Steam, so you can see it for yourself. And players always have the ability to kind of drill down and see their breakdown by language if they like. And ultimately, the way that this works is that if there are enough reviews written in a language, a review score will show for that language. This will only go live for games that have at least 2,000 reviews in any language and 200 reviews in that specific language. And then the review score displayed to the user will be based on their primary language, but users always have the option to kind of opt out of this feature and just see reviews the way that they were before. But we think this is going to be more useful for users and makes Steam reviews more relevant. So we put all of this work into all of those features I just talked about, really so that developers and players, makes their life easier or makes their life better or makes Steam better for them. And we do it so that we can ultimately grow Steam as a platform in the service of everybody, in service of both developers and users. But the question is, well, how is that going? Are we achieving that goal? So the next section is, how is Steam doing? Is it growing? And I'll have some more data to share about that, but let's take a closer look. I can quickly answer that question. 2024 was the biggest year ever on Steam. Partners earned more revenue than ever before, and there were more users than ever before. And right now, 2025 is on pace to beat that. And how do we know? Well, we're going to look at some measures of players, regions, languages, purchasers, sales, and some other data that we can show to kind of illustrate those points. So we'll start with users. That's one way that you can measure the health of a platform. So back in 2020, Steam crossed 20 million concurrent users for the first time. And today, we have over 40 million peak concurrent users. So in terms of users, it's really, really grown very, very rapidly and significantly. And a concurrent user, if you're not aware, it just means the number of players logged into Steam at the same time. And that means there are over 12 million people playing in-game at the same time. It's a lot of people. So those players, we've seen a significant growth in players, and concurrent users is a great way to kind of measure that, or a useful way to measure that. But where are we seeing user growth, or what are the top growing countries during that same period, looking at 2020 to 2025? This is a list of those top growing countries in alphabetical order. But there's some notable countries on here that I think I find really exciting. So personally, I think it's really cool to see Japan on the list. I know that Japan is typically viewed as a console-centric market, a very console-driven market, but it's one of the top growing countries in the world for Steam. So PC gaming seems really healthy there. You're also seeing some other countries there that I think a lot of folks would expect in terms of kind of population and growth on Steam. Brazil, China, Turkey, UK. Another country to point out is the United States. I think that, here in the US, Steam has been popular for quite some time. And I think that the United States is kind of viewed as a very mature market, hey, everybody who kind of knows about Steam, maybe has a Steam account at this point. But what we're seeing is actually significant growth in the United States, even all these years later. and shows, and I think that that's really promising. So that's pretty cool. Okay, what about languages? So this is a current breakdown, as current as I could possibly get, of user language breakdown on Steam. So Steam supports 29 different languages. And one interesting thing to point out here is that over 66% of Steam users have languages other than English set as their primary language. And I think that's significant. I think a lot of both developers and customers still view Steam as a English-dominated platform, but there is a lot of diversity in languages on Steam. And actually, English is not the number one language on Steam anymore. I show this graph not because I think as a developer, you still need to think hard about your game and like what languages make sense for you to support. But I'll get to you in just a moment. But definitely it's worth looking at these languages as kind of information that you can use to inform your decision making around your localization choices. Yeah. Can I grab you at the end? Is that okay? Yeah. Anyway, just some interesting data to share, but definitely be thinking about what makes sense for your game. Here's another cool statistic about Steam's growth and users. So from August 1st, 2024 to August 1st, 2025, a 1-year period, there was a daily average of over 109,000 new purchasers on Steam. So that isn't new users, that's new purchasers. So people buying something for the very first time. That's over 75 new purchasers every minute. But I had a hard time when I kind of did that math to really like put that into perspective. So I thought I'd share something to kind of that helped me to wrap my head around that. So this is Michigan Stadium. This is the Big House in Ann Arbor. This is the biggest stadium in the United States. It's actually the third biggest stadium in the entire world. It holds 107,000 people at max capacity. So if you filled this stadium and you had another 2,000 people on the field, you would have about the number of daily new purchasers on Steam. And at the end of that day, you would empty the stadium and the next day you would fill it up again. And all of those people would be buying something for the very first time on Steam. That, for me, kind of like just it was sort of mind-blowing, but also, kind of a nice illustration of the amount of new people that are coming to Steam to try to buy something for the very first time or discover a game for the first time. And that's happening every day. Here's a quick update on revenue. So Steam seasonal sales are growing in 2025. That's another kind of way to measure the health of the money that partners are making. So the spring sale was up 19% year over year, and the summer sale was up 8% year over year. And these figures represent revenue from games on discount only. It doesn't include free-to-play revenue or games that are not on discount. So significant growth on the seasonal sales already in 2025. So Steam is growing broadly and steadily worldwide. But who is benefiting from all of this? It's still a very competitive market out there. And all of you developers know that it's maybe more competitive than ever. But who is benefiting from all of that growth that you're seeing? And what kind of games and developers are successful on Steam? Is it one type of developer? Is it one type of game? Is it one genre? Is it one gameplay style? And I thought I'd take a moment to kind of share some data and maybe approach that question. But the short answer is all games. All kinds of games are finding success on Steam, all kinds of developers, and at every scale. And when I say scale, I mean, depending on the budget or size or whatever is being attempted of the game, there is sort of an opportunity for success on Steam. And why is that? Why do we think that that's the case? Well, the first is it's a bigger addressable market than ever before. As I talked about, Steam has kind of grown quite a bit. We've worked pretty hard on the shopping experience and the way that games are featured to customers. And, we believe strongly that some of that growth and opportunity comes from an open platform. and the Steam Direct and the ability for games to come and any developer to ship their game on Steam. And we think that Steam is a place that any game has an opportunity to find its audience. And here's some data that I can share about that. So in 2024, there were over 500 games that earned more than $4 million gross. And that is about double the number of games hitting that same threshold in 2020. So a lot of games are making, I would put $4 million in the lot of money category. So a lot of games are making, a significant amount of money. But 2025, there are even more games that are doing better. So in 2025, we're on pace to increase that number by almost 20%. It's looking like there are a lot of games out there, a lot of diversity of games that are making a significant amount of money. But a question that you might have out there as a developer is, well, aren't games, isn't it just the games that are on deep discount that customers are buying? Or like, are those games on deep discount just soaking up all of the revenue? And that doesn't seem to be the case. So here's how we think about that. So we looked at the 2024 sales data, and we were focusing specifically on launch window revenue. And we wanted to kind of look at how new releases are performing on Steam. And when I say launch window revenue, what I mean is, specifically, launch window revenue is the revenue earned in the first 30 days of release. And that includes pre-purchase revenue, if there is any at all. So that's kind of how we're defining this. And it's only that period, the first 30 days. So here's what we found. In 2024, there were 543 new releases that exceeded $250,000 in launch window revenue. It's a lot of games, earning a significant amount of money in the first 30 days. Now, of those games, 224 of those exceeded $1 million in launch window revenue. And again, these are new games. These are games earning that in their kind of launch window. And 2024 was the strongest year in Steam's history for that metric, for launch window revenue. And the message that we got out of that is customers love great new games, and not just games that are on deep discount or that are a little older. And here is a graph to kind of show what that looks like. So this is a graph showing launch window revenue at a year-over-year comparison from 2017 to 2024. And you can see pretty steady and significant growth over that time for games that are launching, new games that are launching, and the amount of revenue that they're earning in that first 30 days. So what kind of games are seeing that success? Do you need to have a specific genre or gameplay style or mechanic or something to always hit it big? Is there some kind of similarity between all those games that are they're kind of finding that success? Well, you can find out for yourself. We publish the lineup of top new releases every month. So you can go see this for yourself. You can go to store.steampower.com/charts. And I think you might be surprised by what you see. I'm surprised by what I see sometimes when I look at it. Here's a look at what that looks like for June 2024. And the first thing to mention, and I'll kind of scroll through here for a bit, is that we show kind of a gold tier, a silver tier, and a bronze tier. But the first thing that jumped out to me was it's not all $50, $60, $70 games. There are games here that are free to play. There are games here that are $7. There are games here that are $30, ranging all the way up to $60. There's even a DLC and multiple DLCs represented here. And another thing is that I looked at the genres. So there are a lot of genres represented here in June, including a dating simulator, RPG, sports, action, sim, card battler, story-rich games. And going down the list, you can see DLC on this list. You can see all types of games finding success. And I think that speaks to the diversity of games that are finding the highest level of success. These are the top sellers on a given month. And you can see for yourself what types of games are finding success. Ultimately, more games and developers are finding success on Steam than ever before. And we really believe that hit games and new subgenres are emerging organically, and they're powered by what customers are most excited about. Well, how do we know that? How do we know that there are, kind of more developers finding success than ever before? Well, here's another little bit of data that I can share. We looked at that same metric that we talked about earlier, launch window revenue. And we looked at the top 100 games released on Steam over the last 4 years. And I put a little asterisk here because I didn't include free-to-play games. So this is just looking at the top 100 paid games that were released on Steam over the last 4 years. And what did we find out? Well, kind of two interesting bits of information. One is more than half of the top 100 games were priced less than $50. And almost a quarter were priced less than $30. And so I think that, to me, that speaks to kind of the diversity of games that are finding success on Steam. And it's not just the $50, $60, $70 kind of AAA games that are finding success. What about developers? Well, to answer the question of what developers are finding success, 61 of the top 100 games were from unique publishers. So different publishers and developers were finding success. 16 were either the first or second game published by that developer of the top 100 games. So I think that's also pretty encouraging about the diversity of developers and publishers that are finding success. So what's the message? Lots of games are finding success on Steam. It isn't just games from the big developers or the big publishers. And also, I think customers just like fun games. They don't care if the game is an indie game or a AAA game or anything in between. They just like really good games. And the diversity of the types of games that can find success on Steam, I think is greater than ever before. Okay, so there is a lot going on with Steam all the time. I talked about some of the features and tools that we've been working on, and it's obviously lots of releases, and there's always more stuff going on Steam. So here's how to keep track of what we're working on and what we're talking about. The first is the Steamworks Development News Hub. You can navigate here multiple ways. You can also just Google this. You can go there. We run essentially a blog where we talk about features when we release them. And we also kind of explain our reasoning or thinking behind them and a little bit of background information. I recommend checking it out. I know that as developers, you are busier than anyone, and you don't have time to go to this blog all the time to be seeing what we're working on. So we also do a roll-up at the end of the year, kind of a year in review blog post, where we talk about everything that we worked over the last year and also share some more information similar to what I shared today about kind of the health of the platform and, how Steam is doing. But I recommend checking that out. If you're too busy on a daily basis to see what's happening on the blog, check out the year in review blog post. Another important reason for you to do it is, as developers, there are tools and features that we work on that you may want to take advantage for your game or may make your life a bit easier. We might have a tool that makes a process or does something on Steam that makes it easier for you. So that might be a reason to check it out. One other little thing to mention is the Steamworks dashboard. We continue to put a lot of work into the dashboard to make it a place that is sort of a control center for everything that you need to know about Steam, at what's happening for your launch on Steam, including upcoming releases, reminders about curated promos, Next Fest, seasonal sale opportunities, deadlines, daily deal opportunities, third-party events, banking and tax notifications. Not the most exciting thing, but you probably want to get on top of that. So this is a place that you can go and you can see what you need to know and what's happening on Steam kind of for your game. Question for all of you before I wrap up here. What do you want to see in this presentation next year? A big reason why we like to come to events like this is to talk to developers like you. And we're going to be hosting a Steam Q&A, I think, in the next session, answering questions. I'll also be hanging out here between that time. But the reason we love coming to these events is to talk to you and to hear your feedback and your ideas and your thoughts about things. And so and that informs what we work on and like what we prioritize. So if you have an idea about a Steam feature or you have something that you'd love to see improved, let us know, and we'd love to hear it. I put 2 QR codes here. The one on the left is some resources and links from the talk, including a link to the visibility video that I talked about, and some other stuff that I think you might find useful. And then also we have another QR code on the right. That is where you can submit questions for our STEAM Q&A. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it, everybody. And it's great to see all of you.